that we were going to look at watercolors and using watercolors and color pencils today, and a little tiny bit of biro as well. This is the picture that I was hoping to work from, but you might have your own picture as well. Indeed, on the website there, on the shared drive, there's lots of pictures you can use to work from today. Okay, now last week we were working on doing some drawings of plants. We're going to be drawing plants again today, but next week we'll be moving on to something else to work from. So a couple of the techniques we looked at was looking at the negative spaces. So that's, for example, this picture just over here. So if you remember, I got you to look just at the negative spaces within the plant pictures that, or the plants that I had on display. We also looked at ellipses and how to draw those by looking at paper cuts, but then I got you to just draw those negative shapes in the background through a viewfinder, which a lot of you wouldn't use a viewfinder if you didn't make one, or if you haven't got anything like that at home. But we looked at this silhouette in order to get the outline of the plant, and also perhaps to capture some of the foreshortening on there as well. And then I got you also to experiment with doing single line drawings as well. So that's this, I think it's this one over here. Yep. So this one was the example I used. So the idea of a single line drawing is to coordinate your hand with your eyes and to draw nice and quickly as well, perhaps looking at some of the negative shapes, but to create this kind of lovely organic feel to your drawings as well, which goes very well with the theme of plants and things. And then if you had time, and I know that a few people did, because there were some really nice posts on the internet, on Facebook that is, we looked at perhaps drawing the whole of a plant, shading it in and so forth like this. So we tried out quite a few different techniques last week. This week we're kind of carrying on, extending that a little bit really, by using watercolor as our negative space. So that's the negative space one that we looked at there, but combining it with the single line drawings that we just talked about. So the picture, which I took a photograph of, this one, was some flowers I had at home, and I thought the jug was a little bit more interesting to draw as well. So start off your drawing today by measuring and drawing out the jug as accurately as you can. And then the flowers, or the tulips, that are on here, and I'll put this on screen when we're at my desk in a few minutes. The flowers I'd like you to draw by looking at those negative shapes, but also trying the single line technique. So I've done an example of what I'm talking about here. The flowers we're going to add in with colour pencils, and the background we're going to do the negative shapes with a watercolor technique that I'm going to show you right now. So we're going to go over here to my desk. So let's just, I'll get rid of my side camera now because we don't need that, and it's not working anyway. Great, lovely, there we go. Let's just get rid of the side camera. There, gone. Right, so there's the drawing that I did previously that you're all familiar with, that I drew. Let's just focus that. And also did the fern one last lesson. These were the single line drawings, and then I actually shaded in the background on this one as well, and the one where we look for a viewfinder. So we're extending on these. This is my version of the techniques that I'd like you to try out today. So the background here is done with just the watercolors, and then here I've used color pencils. Everybody in every class today, people have asked me, are we using watercolor pencils? Well, you can use watercolor pencils if you want to, but it's not absolutely necessary. I just happen to have watercolor pencils, a watercolor pencil set with me today, so I've been using those to do my drawings or my colour work, and then the Derwent Academy ones that some of you have seen me using before. All right, so yeah, so when you've done the background and you've added multiple colours, layered the colours to create this effect of, you know, the deep rich colours of the tulips you can see in the photograph, the next thing I did, and you may just be able to see that, is very loosely work around the outside and some of the details with a biro pen to sort of finish that off. And I've used the biro pen almost a little bit like using the single line technique, but kind of loosely and a bit more kind of expressively to get this effect of you know, the energy and the organic feel of the tulips there. All right, so I'll just I'll show you this one in a few minutes when we've got started, but you'll need obviously some watercolor and a watercolor brush over here. So there's a watercolor brush. So if this was the drawing of the tulips, I'll just move it over a little bit so we can see. So if this was the drawing of the tulips, I'm just using this as an example. First thing you want to do is paint the background of your paper, of your drawing, with just some plain water. Okay, and the idea of that is that when you put the watercolor over the top, it's going to sort of blend quite softly in and create a nice backdrop for your picture. So I'm just putting some water down on here, and then grab hold of I'm going to use a little bit of green first for this. So put your color down behind here and a little bit of blue to go with it. So you're just letting the colors mix into the background. And so we're using those negative shapes really that we've looked at in the previous class. So you're kind of looking at those negative shapes again and using a similar technique, but not with just black and white pencil, but with obviously a little bit of color and things. So if you you know, put that color in quite loosely, as long as you've painted up to the edge of your leaves with just water, then those colors will start to bleed or blend together, and you'll have a lovely background to work over once that's dry. All right, okay, so that's the first stage of the painting part. The next stage is to work into your tulips a little bit. Now when I use the color pencils, what I tend to do is grab hold of 2 or 3, maybe sometimes a lot more than that actually, but grab hold of a few colors. Start with a dark color. I'm just going to give that a good shade. So start with a dark color. So I've got a purple, that's what it's called, a purple and a violet, which is a nice sort of pinky version. If you look at the photograph in a few minutes, you'll notice that some of the leaves have got kind of a browny tinge, so that's quite nice to mix in. And then this brand new pencil that I've got here, this white one, is good for adding your highlights back over the top. So as I said, starting off with some of the darker tones. Like this. So we're working over the single line drawing of the petals and the leaves first of all, and then we're back in with this violet colour. I think it was called, yeah, violet colour, back over the top. So you're combining those colours on top of each other to create a nice rich colour scheme for your tulips, and then use the white to bring in some nice highlights. Now one thing you can do as well, and I haven't done it so much on here, is emphasize the direction that the petals are going in. by using some lines that follow the contours of the petals as well, so you get this sense of, you know, the silkiness of and the movement of the petals going across. And then a little bit of brown, because these were older tulips here, a little bit of brown to sort of bring that organic feel in. And then I used some yellowy some yellows and greens for the stems of the tulips as well. There we go. Okay, now as I said, the last stage to this, and it's kind of like it's called, one of the techniques is often called line and wash, and that's because you're using washes of colour and line back over the top in a kind of loose way. However, I've introduced colour pencils today. Some people in the other classes decided to paint everything with watercolour, work over it again with colour pencils over the flowers, and then apply the pen quite loosely back over the top, so it gets this expressive quality to the image as well. Okay, so this is the first thing that I'd like you to try out today. Start off, I'll just zoom out a little bit. Start off by drawing out your pot. So I mean, you might decide you want to work from a different photo today. That's absolutely fine, or indeed something you've got yourself. Just move those pictures out of the way. There we go. So first of all, measure out the pot or the jug. Okay, so this one's a bit small here, so it needed to be a bit taller. But remember to start with a line through the center and then add in your ellipse on the top. And notice the way I kind of do it very loosely, so you get more of a flowing curve around the ellipse. And then come down to the bottom. Remember not to have the square edges on the bottom of your jug, so that it has a natural, again, a natural curve around the base. Now the other thing you can do when it comes to putting the handle on your jug is measure out the distance of the handle. So I'll just come in a little bit more, and you can, you know, make adjustments to it as you go along. A few people were making adjustments to their drawings today, so that's absolutely fine. But measure the distance to the furthest part of your jug from the edge of the jug there with your thick thumb and the end of your pen, and then line that up to the edge of your ellipse, so it's like about 3/4 of this, so about that distance there. And then I can use that to help me work out how wide the handle of this jug should be, and then I can start to put it in and get those proportions of those things a little bit closer. Okay, and then obviously we can put in the rest like that. Emma's back. Oh, there. Hi there, Emma.
Hi, sorry, I've been sitting there waiting for it to connect, and
Oh, right, okay. Yeah, I had a few issues with the computer.
so has it been going for quite a while now and I've missed it?
You've missed about 10 minutes to 15 minutes
Okay.
now, but I'll go through anything that you've missed. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll just finish doing this bit and then I shall obviously talk through it again with you. Okay. All right, so once you've measured out the proportions of your jug, you can, some people didn't want to do the lettering, but the way I would do the lettering is to draw 2 lines, top and bottom, with the curve of the ellipse on, and then lightly start to put in the lettering for Belle, Fleur around the edges. And then once you've got your jug, the next stage is to say, right, okay, I'm going to do the single line technique. One thing you can do before that though is you can check how high the tulip is compared to the jug. Okay, so you could take that measurement there like that, and then see how much of the jug it measures. So it's about it's just over 1.5 really, or about to here. So I can take that whole pen mark and move it up, get the angle right, so I know that my tulip is going to come up to here. And then using the single line technique that we learnt last week, start to sketch in, and we're not necessarily looking for complete perfect accuracy. We're looking for something that resembles the flower as closely as possible in a very short space of time. And so remember that this technique is there to force you to look closely at the flower and coordinate your hand with your eyes. Okay, so you should be able to draw the whole thing in pretty rapidly and get something that you can then work into in the way that we've discussed earlier. All right, so that's what I'd like you to try out today. There's my version of it, which I'll do a little bit more on. Okay, and then next week we aren't necessarily going to be doing plants. I'm hoping to do something a bit more like this, or there's another one that I'm working on just over here, or something like this in the coming week. But I would like you to test out your pens at home. So this pen here is called a Berol handwriting pen, and the reason I'm using this particular pen for this exercise, I'll just focus it a bit better so you can see it. Obviously Berol's quite a well-known name, isn't it? But a Berol pen, the reason for that is, and I'll do a little bit on the back here, is that you can obviously draw with it. So you'll do a pencil drawing to begin with, and then go around your lines. So if I was just to draw a nice leaf here and perhaps put some detailed lines in, these are absolutely brilliant, because what you can do then, and you may have seen this before, it's a well-known technique, once you start painting with your brush water over the top, you get the ink really runs. It's totally not waterproof, so you can create paintings in this watercolory inky style very quickly by literally just adding water, and it's extremely satisfying and a lot of fun. So I did this one in class this morning, just here. So if you've got time today, you could try that, but I don't expect anyone to get to that stage today. And then the other one I did was a window, because what I'm aiming for is to link what we've been doing with the plants to views through a window and foliage and things, and then maybe looking at some of these exotic, beautiful, quaint scenes of suburban or urban sort of buildings and so forth. So I'll be doing a little bit of work on that as well, ready for next time. All right, okay, so does anyone have any questions on what we're doing today?
Those pens called, Jamie, I haven't got any.
That's what I was going to say.
Oh right, okay, yeah, they're called Berol, Berol. and they're handwriting pens. They're actually really cheap. I can't remember how much I bought them for, but I got about 15 of them.
Did you get them from?
Guess.
It's from Amazon.
Amazon.
Jamie, are they all the same colour?
Yeah, they're all black. Yeah,
Okay.
you might be able to get some colour ones. I've not actually thought of trying that. I bet you can get a blue one at least. So yeah, have a look, see if you can find. I'll have a look on the internet in a bit and see if you can just buy one. But well, as I said, please try out your pens that you've got at home, because it's not just these berol pens that do this. There's a lot of other ones that will do it as well. It just happens that these are the ones we use at school, so I looked those up on the internet and bought them. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. So
We hope.
yeah. So who hasn't got the picture of the flowers? These.
I haven't got that one. I was going to ask you if you put it on move it towards the middle a bit, Jamie, please.
Yeah, I can do that.
Yes, please.
Yeah. How about that? You won't be able to see what I'm doing, but
Jamie, I picked some
is that
precious
okay?
tulips from the garden, and I've got a still life. Is that all right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. This is, I mean, I got everybody in the other classes to do this because it was just, I knew that everybody would be able to get on and do the work, but some people did bring in a plant or two and did their own thing as well, which is brilliant. Yeah, perfect.
I don't know whether it is, but we'll have a go.
So for the remainder of the lesson, I kept the picture of Belle, Fleur, the tulip popped on there so that everybody could draw it from the screen if they wished. So that's why you've got half and half, or almost half and half, on the screen here at the moment. And I continued to draw and kind of paint this picture of a stairway and in the back streets of some village or town. I wanted to try this out because this may be something that we do a little bit of in future lessons. Certainly we will be using the berol handwriting pens a bit later. They're brilliant pens because when you draw with them you only have to add a bit of water and they run like Billy-O. They run everywhere, and you get wonderful sort of mid-tones. You also get a bit of the residue ink in the water, so you can push the ink around the surface of your picture as you're drawing it, which is really good fun because it's kind of, you can control where you're putting the lines and the details, but then after that you can loosen up a little bit and add the tones and shadows very quickly using a little bit of water and a brush. I did find that if you overload your brush with water, it will continue to kind of spread, a little bit like watercolour, I suppose. If you apply a lot of water to your watercolours, then it's going to spread out quite a bit as well, isn't it? So that's generally what happens with this as well. So that was me just showing a picture. Somebody mentioned a drawing of an orchid, so I should show them that. But here we go. Anyway, we're drawing away using the pen to put details in. Sometimes the pen, when you add the water, does obliterate the details, but what I also found quite useful is when it's a bit drier, you can work back into it with the same pen and even work back over those as well. The other nice thing is you can remove the details completely, or remove lines completely, and just turn them into plain ink. So you've got this lovely ink and wash sort of technique going on with this drawing here, or any drawing you do indeed. In fact, earlier on in the video I showed a couple of other drawings that I did today as well. So quite a lot of fun with these pens. So you can see me putting in some of the details around there. You only have to do a bit of ink, as I said, with your pen, and as you can see, it goes very dark quite quickly. So you can get these really dark tones if you just do a few sort of cross-hatch lines and then apply your water over the top. You get a lovely dark tone, and then from those darker areas you can take your brush, which will be less loaded of course, and you can put little bits of tone in other places. You can see on the wall just at the top of the stairs there where I've added a little bit more tone and so forth to the picture as well. That's just using, if you like, dirty or stained inky water. So I mean, it's really good fun, so please try it out if you get the chance. Yes, so the pens are called Berol, that's B-E-R-O-L. I'm not sure if you can buy them individually. I bought them as bought about 15 of them altogether, so I had enough for a small class to use. So with this drawing, there's obviously some lovely dark recesses in the doorways and the windows and things. There's also some fantastic texture, which is great to put in with a pen. I did switch over actually to a biro pen at a few different points, which is something I really obviously enjoy doing as well. So don't forget that we've got a new web page for the classes now. I must have had about 40 lessons on there, so the web page was just far too long, and it still worked, but it's taking a long time to load. So I've removed all the old lessons and just put on the lessons that we're doing at the time, or in the set of 10 lessons that we do. So it should be much easier to use, and then to get any files you just click on the link or the button, and that'll take you to our shared drive. Next week I shall be uploading a number of pictures like these ones and some window pictures. My original intention was to take images like the Belle Fleur tulips over there and combine them with views out through windows. So you put your drawings together or your photographs together and then paint them as if they're one piece. So it's a montage of photographs put together, and then we paint them. And we'll be looking at some different styles of artists that artists have done when doing windows. The first one, of course, that always comes to mind to me is Matisse's views through windows that he did. I think it's in the south of France. And another one which is quite abstract is Ben Nicholson, very famous British artist. But there are, of course, many more artists that do this sort of thing. So I'm going to stop the video in just a second, and then I shall see everybody next week for another instalment of our art classes, and hopefully all my equipment will be running a bit better next week. We had a little bit of a delay getting on today, but didn't stop us, so I'm very pleased about that. So you can see me here putting in a few extra details into the brickwork and the plaster work. So not only is there washes there, I've used line to put in mark making techniques as well. So we've been looking quite a lot at these mark making techniques. This is just me showing how you might use lines, not just for outlining, but also to be a little bit expressive and have a little bit of fun with drawing line, which all comes from using the single line techniques that we've been doing recently as well. Single line techniques and drawing negative spaces. All of these skills very important to help you improve your accuracy and your observation skills whilst making your art. Right, thank you very much everybody, and I'll see you all soon. Bye bye.